A top executive at the Trump Organization pleading guilty today to tax evasion charges. Alan Weisselberg agreed to a plea deal requiring him to testify when the organization goes on trial for related charges. NewsNation correspondent Dre Clark reports from outside the federal courthouse in Manhattan.
A former longtime Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg confessing today and pleading guilty to 15 different counts of fraud and tax evasion, and also agreeing to a deal that could make him a star witness in a case against the Trump Organization that's scheduled to go to trial later this year. The 75-year-old Weisselberg spent 2 decades overseeing the finances of the former president's massive real estate empire, admitting that he intentionally underreported his personal income to avoid paying nearly $2 million in taxes. Prosecutors say the 15-year scheme involved paying Trump Organization executives with special off-the-book benefits. In Weisselberg's case, those perks range from luxury car lease payments to a Manhattan apartment and private school tuition payments for his grandchildren. Weisselberg will spend 5 months behind bars and pay back nearly $2 million. But the deal also requires him to testify as a prosecution witness if he's called when the Trump Organization goes on trial on related charges in October. In fact, Weisselberg won't be sentenced until after that trial concludes. As prosecutors warn, failure to comply with the agreement could mean more prison time. Meanwhile, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg said, quote, "This plea agreement directly implicates the Trump Organization in a wide range of criminal activity and requires Weisselberg to provide invaluable testimony in the upcoming trial." But lawyers representing both Weisselberg as well as the Trump Organization have blasted the DA's investigation as a political witch hunt. In a statement, the company praised Weisselberg as a loyal employee who has been, quote, persecuted and threatened by law enforcement, particularly the Manhattan District Attorney, in their never-ending politically motivated quest to get President Trump. It's important to note that former President Trump has not been charged in connection to any type of criminal investigation. Also, the Trump Organization has pleaded not guilty, saying, quote, "We look forward to having our day in court." Meanwhile, Weisselberg left court today without saying anything to reporters. Nichole.
All right, Dre, thanks for that. All right, let's bring back former federal prosecutor David Weinstein. All right, David, what could Weisselberg reveal if and when he testifies?
Well, Nichole, what he has to do is to tell the truth. And the truth is, did you receive these benefits? And did you report them on your own personal income tax as income? And if he tells the truth, his deal remains. Now, what the government is hoping he does is say that the Trump Organization knew that I was not going to report these details, that I was not going to give information about this additional income that's coming to me, and that they gave me their blessing, and that they continued to do it year after year after year, and that we were co-conspirators in this conspiracy to underreport and misreport income that came to me. That's what the government is hoping that he's going to do, and that's what he might tell a jury.
So there are a lot of ifs here, but, where does the Trump Organization actually go from here? Do their attorneys, are they facing an uphill battle after this guilty plea?
Well, it may not necessarily be as far uphill as a lot of people are saying. They have a fall guy now. And if Weisselberg comes before a jury and truthfully says, I received this income, I didn't report it, but I never told the Trump Organization that I didn't report it, then there's a lack of intent that's missing there. Clearly, what the prosecution is hoping for and believes that he's going to testify is that the organization knew exactly what he was doing. They were working together hand in hand, and that they were part of this conspiracy. But if it goes the right way, the Trump Organization may have found a fall guy.
All right, so, Dre mentioned this in his piece. We want to mention it here again. The former president not charged in the case against the Trump Organization. But, David, could that change if Weisselberg does, in fact, testify?
It could very well change. Remember, these are parallel investigations that are taking place here. If they bring him in and, as a requirement of his plea deal, not only testify in front of a jury, but to provide additional testimony to the Attorney General who's investigating all of this, and if they believe that they can tie Trump himself into the organization, prove that connection of intent and willfulness, then potentially there could be criminal charges filed in New York State against the former president.
All right, David Weinstein, thank you once again.
You're welcome, Nichole.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.